Hello, welcome to today's lesson on adding and subtracting fractions. So here for you I've got a couple of pictures where they've got some shaded fractions and we're looking to add them together to see if there's any patterns that emerge, that you can see what happens. So on the top one you can see you've got 2 8s here, so you've got 2 parts shaded out of 8, and on the second picture you've got 3 parts shaded out of 8. And it says 2 8s add 3 8s gives you 5 8s. So you can see all of these parts together now have been added up to give us 5 8s. So all you've done is added the numerators, the top numbers together. So 2 add 3 gives us the 5. And you can see the 8 on the bottom has stayed the same because it is still 8 parts altogether. You've just got 2 parts, add the 3 parts gives you 5 out of the 8 parts. So the denominator, the bottom number, stays the same. On the one below now, you can see it's exactly the same section that's shaded, but they've given the fraction in a different way. So you can see this 2 8s here has now been written as a quarter because I've only split this shape into 4 parts. So it's one piece of the shape out of 4 parts. But you can see one piece of this shape is exactly the same as one piece on the one above because it's an equivalent fraction. So 1/4 add 3 8s still gives us 5 8s. But you can see there's no pattern as such here in the fractions. We can't do 1 add 3 to give us 5, and we can't do the 4 and the 8 to give us 8. So the main rule with adding and subtracting fractions is that the bottom numbers have to be the same so that you can add or subtract the top numbers. So here you have to use your equivalent fractions to change this fraction to 2 8s. So the 4 has been doubled to get the 8, and the 1 has been doubled to get the 2. So you have to use your equivalent fractions to get the denominators on the bottom the same. Once the denominators are the same, you can then add or subtract the top. So just as a quick recap, when adding and subtracting fractions, the denominators must be the same. So if the denominators are the same, so for example, if you had 5 9ths add 3 9ths, because the denominator is the same on both, they are both 9, you can just add or subtract the top. So 5 add 3 would give you 8, and the denominator stays the same. Okay, so that's an example of one where the denominators are already the same. If the denominators are different, then you need to use equivalent fractions to make the denominators in the fraction the same. So for example, if you had 5 9ths add a third, you can see these bottom numbers are different here, so you need to use equivalent fractions to make them the same. So you need to find the lowest common multiple, so that's the smallest number that appears in both of their times tables, and use that. So I've used these numbers specifically, so hopefully you can see 9 comes up in the 9 times table and 9 comes up in the 3 times table, and you have to do the same to both. So this 3 to 9 has been times by 3, so you have to do the same to the top number. So 1 times 3 is 3. So the equivalent fraction of 1/3 is 3 9ths. This one was already over 9, so 5 9ths add 3 9ths, and you get the same as the top answer then, 8 over 9. So if the denominators are different, you need to use equivalent fractions to make them the same. So remember, whatever you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by it too. So we're going to work through a number of examples together, just so we drum in the method of adding and subtracting fractions. Keep an eye on that add and subtract sign because there's a mixture of examples within here. And it says work out the following, leaving your answer in its simplest form. So we need to make sure our final answer of these questions is simplified as much as it possibly can be. So the first question, we've got 3/5 add 1/5. So you, 1/5, sorry. So you straight away look at your denominators first, and you can see they are both 5, so the denominators are already the same, so we can add the top numbers together. So 3 add 1 gives us 4, and remember, do not add the denominators. The denominator stays as 5. The denominator stays the same. So your final answer is 4/5. That can't be simplified at all, so your answer is 4/5. Second one, 5/6 take away 2/6. So again, looking at our denominators, the denominators are both the same. So you can add or subtract straight away. On this question, we've got take away. So you want to do 5 take away 2 to give us 3. Keep the denominator the same. So 5 take away 2 is 3. The 6 stays on the bottom. Looking at this fraction, 3 over 6, we can simplify this as 3 goes into both of these numbers. So if we divide this fraction by 3 to simplify it, 3 goes into 3 once, so there's a 1 on the top, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So that fraction will simplify down to a half. Question 3 then, 7/10 add 2/5. So you can see the denominators now are not the same, okay? 10 and 5 are different. So the first thing we need to do is make them the same. So we need to find the lowest number that both of these goes into. Remember, this is called your lowest common multiple. So if you can't remember how to find that, you list out some of the times table of the 10s, and you list out some of the times table of the 5, and it's going to be the lowest number that appears in both. You might need to go a little bit further, but you can see on this one you've got a 10 in both. So underneath it, I'm going to put a 10 on the bottom of both of my fractions. And what I like to do is straight away put it on my answer ready so that I know it stays the same. So now we look to see if we need to change it. This first fraction was already over 10. We haven't changed this at all. So you're going to keep it exactly the same. So 7 over 10 is going to stay as 7 over 10. This second fraction we've changed. So we did have a 5 on the bottom, and now we've got a 10. So what have you times that 5 by to get to 10? Well, it's been times by 2. So you need to make sure whatever you times the bottom number by, you have to times the top number by it. So 5 times 2 has already given us that 10. So 2 times 2 gives us 4. So the equivalent fraction of 2/5 is 4/10. Now we can add our numerators together. So 7 add 4 gives us 11. 11/10 doesn't simplify, so this is a type of improper fraction or top-heavy fraction. Don't worry if your number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. This is a type of fraction that we will see. Just leave it as it is for now. Number 4 then, 1/4 take away 1/7. So again, look at the denominators first. You can see they are different. 4 and 7 are different, they are not the same. So we need to find the LCM of 4 and 7. So the lowest common multiple of 4 and 7. So the 4 times table first, list some of it. Okay, then list some of your 7s. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. You can see I need to catch up on the 4s a little bit. So 20, 24, 28, and there is our first number that repeats. So you can see 28 is our first number that repeats in our 4 and our 7 times table. So 28 is the LCM. So I'm going to put 28 on the bottom of my fractions. Make sure this one's a take away in the middle, so keep it as a subtract. And you're going to have 28 on your final answer ready. Look to see what has happened then. So 4 to 28, what have you multiplied by? So 4 to 28, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 times 7 is 28. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 1 times 7 is 7. On this one, 7 to 28, what have you times it by? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7 times 4 gives us 28, so you have to times the top number by 4 as well. So 1 times 4 is 4. Now you've got your 2 numerators, so we need to subtract them now. 7 take away 4 gives us 3. So our final answer is 3 over 28. This can't be simplified as nothing goes into 3 and 28. Question 5 then, so another one, so 2/3 take away 3/8. So again, smallest number that you know that goes into 3 and 8. So if we think about 8 times table, 8, 16, 24, that first number is 24. So 24 on the bottom of both, and your answer ready. So you know that denominator is going to stay the same. Again, so 3 times what? Okay, so think 3 times what gives us 24. Well, 3 times 8 gives us 24. So you need to make sure you times the top number by 8 as well. 2 times 8, 16. Same thing on the next one, so you start again. So look at the denominators, 8 to 24. What have you done? 8 times 3 is 24. So make sure you times the top number by 3 as well. 3 times 3, 9. Now we've got our denominators the same, we can subtract the top. So 16 take away 9 gives us 7 over 24. And this fraction also does not simplify. Last example like this then, so we got 3/4 add 3/6. So remember, we want to find the LCM, the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6, if we can. So remember, you want the lowest number that appears in both of these times tables. So the smallest number that appears in the 4s and the 6s is this 12. Some of you might have realised that if you do 4 times 6 to give you 24, it's a common multiple. But you want to try and use the lowest common multiple as much as you can, because it means you might not have to simplify. Okay, so the lowest common multiple is 12, so we're going to make the denominators on both of these fractions 12. And your answer ready. Notice we are adding this time. So again, looking at your denominators, 4 has gone to 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So you need to times the top by 3 as well. 3 times 3, 9. On to the second one then. So 6 has changed to 12. So 6 times 2 is 12. So you need to times the top by 2 as well. 3 times 2 is 6. And now we can add our numerators together. So 9 add 6 gives us 15. Looking at our final answer then, 15 over 12, can it be simplified? This fraction can be simplified. 3 will fit into both of these numbers. So if we divide both values, the numerator and the denominator, by 3, 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. Okay, so just to finish off, we've got a wordy question from a GCSE paper. So it says, in a bag there are red, green and purple counters. 3/8 of the counters are red, 1/6 of the counters are green. What fraction of the counters are purple? So we know all of the counters altogether, the whole thing, are either red, green or purple. We've got the fraction for red and we've got the fraction for green. So the first thing we want to do is add up to what red and green are together. So we want to add this 3/8 add 1/6 to start. Okay, so same thing as before now. Remember, adding fractions, we need to make that denominator the same so we can add them together. At the moment, they're different. So we've got an 8 and a 6 on the bottom. So we need to find the lowest common multiple of 8 and 6. So think 8, 16, 24, 32. I'll go on to my 6's. 6, 12, 18, 24. There is your lowest common multiple. So 24 is your lowest common multiple in your 6 and 8 times table. So we're going to put 24 on the bottom of both of our fractions ready. And our answer to make sure we don't add those denominators together. So same as before, now look at the denominators first. 8 to 24, you have times it by 3. So 8 times 3 is 24, so you have to times the top by 3 as well. So 3 times 3 gives you 9. On to the next fraction, so 6 to 24, 6, 12, 18, 24, it's been times by 4. So because we've times the denominator by 4, we have to times the numerator by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. Now we can add the numerators together. 9 add 4 gives us 13. So the red and the green counters together comes to 13 out of 24. If you read it like that, 13 out of 24, all the rest now have got to be purple. So it's like all of it, the whole thing. Now a whole in a fraction, remember, is 1. Okay, so it's all of the bag. So 1, take away that fraction. So 1 take away 13 out of 24. Think that 1 is 24 out of 24 of them. So another way of writing this 1 here is 24 out of 24, all of those counters in that bag. So we want to take away the 13 over 24, and we can see our denominator is the same. We've got 24 on the bottom of both. So remember, the 24 is going to stay on the bottom, and we can now subtract the top numbers. So 24 take away 13 gives us 11. So what fraction of the counters are purple? The fraction of the counters that are purple are 11 out of 24.